and welcome to this exclusive LinkedIn interview in the run-up to the International Airport Summit 2025, made possible by our headline sponsors NATS and Plus Impact. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Gerri Sinclair, Chief Prioritisation, Planning and Performance Optimisation Officer of Vancouver International Airport. So Gerri, thank you so much for joining me.
It's certainly great to be here.
So in today's conversation, we'll explore how Vancouver uses data and technology to personalise the passenger experience, balance privacy with efficiency, and build more resilient airport operations. Gerri will also share a sneak peek of what's coming at the summit and the future of choose your own adventure travel experiences. So let's get started. Gerri, your title at Vancouver Airport is really quite distinctive. And in fact, you've actually shortened it to C3PO, as you call it. So could you give us a quick overview of what your role involves and how it actually connects to the passenger experience?
Well, actually, the title C3PO was what really drove me to actually fill it out and figure out what it stood for. But I came into the airport to serve as interim VP of Innovation and CIO. I was at the end of my career, and I thought I was going to retire. But our CEO persuaded me that there would be some really interesting things to do at Vancouver International Airport, since we were moving into a new era, as most airports post-COVID have had to readjust and rethink their whole lines of business. And we wanted to put an emphasis on prioritization and optimization of the work that we were doing, as opposed to build infrastructure, which had been the modus operandi of the previous decade, when the number of passengers was always growing, the number of routes was always growing, the number of new airlines that were coming on, and it was growth, and then COVID gave us a huge wrench. We went from 26 million passengers to 700,000 in 2020, and then things have recovered, and it's taken a while for it to recover. But we still we have a different set of passengers, and the geopolitical situation is completely different. The latest being, of course, the tariff situation with our neighbors to the south, which has really impacted our north-south border traffic. So we have to be in a different place altogether. So prioritization and optimization were key. So when I was looking at what my role would be, there are a lot of C's and P's and O's, and so I created the C3PO role, because it seems really heavy to think about prioritization and optimization. I wanted it to be light. Well, since that point, during the work that I was doing as C3PO of the airport, it became more and more clear that we were moving from a business that was historically, traditionally, and continuously based on physical infrastructure. Airports, of course, are runways and terminals and parquets, brick and mortar, concrete, dirt. And we needed to shift much more into a physical infrastructure. And from my perspective, the way that businesses in general, and I would say infrastructure business, transportation businesses, cities, construction businesses, have really approached digital transformation or digital adoption from the perspective of point solutions. When you think about, let's add a scheduling program here, and we'll update our financial back end, or maybe we'll get a vendor in to build us a loyalty program. But it has not looked at the entire physical infrastructure. So investments have been very weak across the board in physical infrastructure. So right now, my role has changed, and I'm the VP of Commercial Data, looking for new models of revenue growth in the new world that we find us in. But really, what I am is working very hard to support the building of a digital infrastructure for the airport, which starts with a foundation of data. Long answer for a very short question.
Well, plenty to keep you interested. And of course, you mentioned it's happening in your own airport, but global passenger numbers are climbing. So, how is Vancouver approaching the challenge of delivering hyper personalized experiences without compromising operational efficiency?
Well, to tell you the truth, Vancouver Airport has always been focused on personalized and hyper personalized experience, but we've done this traditionally in a very high touch way. So we have over 165 passenger experience folks that are in terminal. We call them our blue coats. They're easily distinguished, and they're there to serve our passengers, our guests, in any way that they can. We also have another group of over 400 volunteers, and we call them our green coats. And they are generally retired people or people who have a few hours a week to spare, and they love airports and they love serving people. And they too are very visible in the terminal and delivering that kind of hyper personalized experience face to face that has really been at the foundation of why Vancouver has won the Skytrax Award for Best Airport in North America for 14 years. And so we're very proud of that. So now the point is we are turning more to digital technologies to supplement and support the high touch service that we provided. And to that end, we feel very strongly that everything we do in terms of personalizing the experience using data and digital solutions has to be rooted in two things. One is the passenger experience. It has to streamline the passenger journey. It has to add value to what the passenger is experiencing. Plus, it has to contribute to operational efficiency. So from our perspective, and everybody's perspective, of course, that in order to grow revenue, you have to be grounded in providing the best experience for your passengers, for your airline partners, for your retailers. So we take that very seriously, as well as the data that drives new revenue growth. So we can't separate them out in answer to your question. They're very much intertwined.
Absolutely. It sounds like the human touch is in abundant supply then at your airport. And I just want to drill down a little bit more. So in terms of the technologies or the data strategies, what are you finding is proving most effective in helping your airport anticipate and respond to passenger needs in real time?
We're looking at as I said, not bombarding our passengers with ads to buy. We're working very much on a value exchange at all of the touch points that take place in the airport. So we're looking at where does the passenger actually meet us, whether it's on the couch when they're first dreaming about a trip somewhere. Trips to Vancouver are very useful if we're talking about international passengers. But if a passenger that we know through our database is thinking of something else, we're trying to be able to anticipate their needs before they even arrive at the airport. And the way we do that, of course, is to build an exchange of value and trust so that we provide worthwhile offers that are delightful and interesting, as opposed to those that miss the mark and people are not thinking about shopping, and we're trying to get them to think about shopping. So the touch point concept is turning out to be a very valuable one, and so we're doing basically a mapping of every single touch point we have with our passengers and our stakeholders, whether it's through Wi-Fi, whether it's through the website, whether it's through reserved parking, whether it's when they're coming by rapid transit from the city to the airport. That is a touch point that we have an opportunity to actually widen the aperture of interaction. And that is really the basic strategy that we have. And it's always on, of course, a consent basis, an opt-in basis. And people are able to leave at any time. But that's the philosophy that we're building as we build out our data strategy and our next generation of passenger experience.
Do you have any recent examples of a personalized initiative that's had a tangible impact on passenger satisfaction or loyalty? I mean, past or present?
Well, the one that jumps to mind that I'm actually very proud of is we are working with our airline partner, Air Canada, who's the largest airline in Canada, and we are spearheading e-gate initiative with them. So Canada, from its regulatory perspective, is behind the U.S. in terms of biometric um, check-in and those kinds of things. But we are now piloting it with Air Canada, and so we've built out a series of e-gates, and we were very, very careful as we were building them to not only to deal with the AI bias that can take place very often in terms of facial recognition software and racial profiling, or we all know algorithms, depending on whom they've been trained by, can have biases built in, and so we were very cognitive of how we were using the biometrics, and had rail guards around it. But we were also really careful because we have a very strong diversity, equity and inclusion program to make sure that folks in wheelchairs, for instance, for whom biometrics is very, very powerful and helpful. We actually have a vice president of diversity at our airport, and he's in a wheelchair, and he has not the use of his arms, and so biometrics are very useful for him. But the problem was that the cameras were not arranged properly to actually grab his photo and then match it against his biometrics. So we did a number of tests, and we made sure that all of the technology that we're using is not only adaptive, but it's actually geared for our wide passenger base. And it does all of our technology, we believe very strongly, has to reflect the values of the airport and what makes us who we are.
That's a fantastic initiative. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you spoke about it a little bit a few minutes ago, but personalisation relies on sensitive data. I'm wondering how you strike the right balance between using this data to enhance the journey, but also maintain privacy and trust.
It goes without saying. In order, license to operate in this world means that and in the world of being an airport, being in the world of any data collection, I feel any data collection agency requires a trust relationship, and we have to make sure that we have the ethical reviews, the legal reviews. We're very, very much committed to respecting the privacy of our passengers, who we share data with, the data governance around sharing, all of those things. I mean, you need belts and suspenders, the digital belts and suspenders to protect the privacy of our passengers. And we're working very closely with our border agencies and our immigration security, and cybersecurity is a huge issue for airports, for almost every corporation. But we take it extremely seriously. Investment is very high in this area, both commitment, emotional equity in our privacy protection, as well as our investment in technology.
And of course, data as well as cybersecurity are going to be topics that are explored in International Airport Review's roundtable discussions, of which you are one of our roundtable chairs. So you are chairing the discussion on harnessing data for smarter, more resilient airports on both days of the conference. We're very much looking forward to that, and was wondering if you could give us a preview of what attendees can expect from that discussion and why data resilience is becoming such a critical topic for airport leaders.
It's something I'm extremely passionate about, and I think there is there is a bit of naivety in the way we think about using data. So airports are flooded with data. We have so much data that we are creating internally in so many different systems, whether they're the financial systems or the HVAC systems or the retail sales, like it goes on and on and on and on about the amount of data that we have. So there are two questions. Number one is, how do you determine which is valuable? Which data do you need? And secondly, how do you activate it? And those are two very, very big questions. So just as I said, we're very much involved in a project to map the touch points we have with our passengers, whether from the moment they start dreaming of a trip that will take them through Vancouver Airport. We're also tracking all of the data sources we have, where they are, their provenance, and their rights and who has access. And that's all internally. It is a big, big job to get your arms around your data. And then as we talk about the harnessing this data by itself is a Sisyphean deal, a Herculean, it requires Herculean effort. But beyond that, it's also looking at what's the third party data we have, and what's the third party data that we need, and then how are we going to acquire that third party data? Are we going to purchase it? Are we going to trade it? Are we going to share it? And that for me is the biggest challenge, and I think we'll probably spend a lot of time looking at how do we break through the fact that the business of an airport involves multi-faceted touch points with passengers, but also many different partners who have an impact on the passenger journey. And if they hoard their data, if they're not willing to share their data, if they have a view that data is proprietary, and therefore, as some of the airports do, other airports, if they see that they are competitive or competitors as opposed to collaborators, then we can't all win. And so the whole notion of how do you build a collaborative ecosystem where the data, and it's clean, reliable data, and it's data that's properly governed, flows freely among the partners, and it's very clear from each partner's perspective that they're in a better position as a result of sharing the data than they are than if they were keeping it close and only exposing little bits of it. Then we can become a much more streamlined industry, and we can serve our passengers together much better, and we can all win.
And you sound like the perfect leader for this discussion. So if anyone listening is interested in joining Gerri's roundtable, of course, please go ahead and get in touch with me. But I'm wondering then, you spoke about catching people on the couch when they're dreaming about their holiday. So how far can we really push personalisation? What does the future of personalisation look like to you? Are we moving towards what we call a kind of choose your own adventure travel experience? Like, what's your vision for that?
Oh, we don't have long enough to talk about my vision. I used to be a game developer, very heavily involved in virtual reality. So that I think that travel becomes it is already very experiential, but the digital has not been very much involved in that experience. So I think there will be a stream. There already is a stream, of folks who are choosing their own travel adventure, using headsets of various kinds, immersed in worlds, in virtual worlds. I can see a lot of that passing into the travel experience itself. Try before you fly, I guess, is one way. But I really do think that on the downside, I do think that social media algorithms are hyper personalized already. They already know what we want before we know them. They are already virtually making decisions for us. So it's these personal profiles are being built as we speak, as we interact, and it's we're moving. We're definitely in a world of hyper personalization. The whole question is, how hyper personalized do we want to be, and do we have choice? And when you say choose your own adventure, we might be just thinking we're choosing it, but the algorithm is choosing it for us.
Great. I mean, finally, what are you most looking forward to sharing on your panels at the summit? And why should airport professionals make sure they attend the summit in person?
Well, I'm a big fan of the summit, as you know, and very pleased to be a speaker. But for me, the best part is hearing what other people have to say. And there's nothing like talking to airport professionals, aviation professionals who are facing the same challenges as you are, and pooling knowledge. Or I find that people are very generous with their own experiences of what went wrong and what not to do and what to do, and that is so helpful. And you can't get that online. And so for me, the summit is just an invitation to come and learn and get excited about the potential for the future.
Great. Thank you so much. That was my final question. We're very much looking forward to your discussions and, of course, your roundtables at the summit. And again, make sure you join our headline sponsors, NATS and Plus Impact, at the International Airport Summit in Berlin to discuss the growing complexities faced by the aviation industry in running efficient airports while maintaining a great passenger experience. Head to internationalairportevents.com to learn more and register your place. And of course, if you found today's chat insightful, please like, comment, and share this interview with your airport colleagues, as it really does help. Thanks again for watching, and Gerri and I will see you at the summit in a few weeks' time in Berlin. Thank you.